Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be filming a book haul. I already filmed like half of this and then it got interrupted and I couldn't finish filming it that day, so I'm just filming it all again. But this year is really the first year that I've kind of let myself buy books that aren't from Book of the Month. I really got into reading last year, but I almost exclusively bought books only from Book of the Month because it was such a good deal that you could get like basically up to 3 books a month and it'd be a total of $35, and they're all hardbacks. And so if it wasn't on Book of the Month, I wasn't going to read it basically last year. But this year I finally let myself indulge a little and I've collected some books that I've really been wanting to read that were not on Book of the Month, but I'm also going to include the ones that I have gotten from that service. So I'm just gonna get started. So these books I'm just gonna touch on briefly because I've already mentioned them in other videos, but I bought these 5 books because Reagan from Peruse Project made a TikTok saying her 5 suggestions on winter fantasy reads. So I bought all of them. I have already read The Starless Sea and Discovery of Witches off that list, and I'm about to start today, hopefully, starting with The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden, and then I'll be reading the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin. I've heard this book is likely going to wreck me, and I'm ready for it. And then I'm going to do Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. And can we just, I know I talked about it in the last video, but I feel like I didn't get close enough for how just beautiful the cover is. So pretty. Once I get a bookshelf, this girl is going to be displayed. So yeah, those were those 5. The Starless Sea was actually a gift to me for Christmas from my husband. He had heard me talking about it, so he got it for me. The next 3 books were my December Book of the Month picks, I believe. Yes. So for the monthly book, none of the ones that they had really spoke out to me, and of course after I made my pick, a lot of them actually seemed really good, but it's okay. They've just started letting you pick reader favorites if you don't like any of the 5 that they've had that month, and one of the reader favorites was a book that I've wanted to get for a long time really bad, so I decided to go with it, and it is Recursion by Blake Crouch. This book, the descriptions said that it reads like a action movie. It's sci-fi, which I really want to get into sci-fi. Basically, I think the premise of this book is people start going insane, being plagued by memories of lives that they never lived. And there is a neuroscientist who is our protagonist, and she works together with another character to try and solve whatever is plaguing society, and it sounds really good. My friend Taylor actually told me she really wants to read this book, which has kind of motivated me to move this much higher up on my TBR than it previously was, so hopefully the next month or 2 I will get this read. The next book that I got from that month that I added on was Circe by Madeline Miller. A lot of people have just raved and raved about this book. It's supposed to be really good. It's based on Greek mythology, and it's about someone who's a goddess, a half goddess, who's kind of banished to an island. That's all I really know. I'm going to go in kind of blind to this book. Recently I found that I really enjoy a book a lot more if I go in blind without really reading the inside cover so much. So a lot of these books I don't know what they're about, and that's because I don't want to. The last book that I added on for that month was Piranesi by Susanna Clark. This is supposed to be really, really good. It's about a boy who lives in an underground labyrinth that also has a sea inside of it that moves room to room, but he's lived there long enough and kind of knows the patterns of the sea, so he avoids it. There's only one person that he comes in contact with, and eventually he realizes that there's a whole world outside the one that he's lived in his whole life, and the truth kind of begins to unravel. It sounds super magical. The setting sounded a little similar to The Starless Sea, so I did really want to read this at the beginning of the year, but I kind of wanted to space it out because I didn't want them to kind of meld into each other's plot lines in my memory. So this will be read soon. Sounds really good, and people have apparently really liked it. So next I'm going to go over some books that I received for Christmas. From my grandma, I got A Woman in the Window, which is a very popular book. It's being turned into a movie. It's a thriller. I've heard that it's very slow burn. I've heard a lot of mixed reviews about it, so I'm setting the bar very low in my mind, so hopefully I will be pleasantly surprised by a decent thriller. It seems really good and I'm excited for it. Then my mom got me for Christmas The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. So people also love this book. I think that it's just the same kind of theme of Greek mythology as Circe. They don't have to do with each other. I've heard that people love The Song of Achilles and they've read Circe and it's still good but not as good as this. So I'm kind of planning on reading Circe first and then being wowed by it, and then reading Song of Achilles next and being wowed even more by it. That's my plan of action, to try and get the most enjoyment out of both of these books and not be disappointed by any of them. And then another book that my husband bought me for Christmas, which was so sweet, was The Poppy War, which wasn't even on the list of books that I gave him that I wanted for Christmas. He just bought it because he had heard me raving about it all year and how much I wanted to read it, and he just picked it up, which I thought was so sweet. But I'm really excited to read this series. It's an East Asian based fantasy about war and kind of the consequences of war and who has to pay those consequences. I saw somewhere, I think it was on TikTok, so it may not be the most credible source, but that this series kind of started as a reimagining of Avatar if Azula was the Avatar. And I did see for sure that the author had said if you watched Avatar and wished that there was a little more dark and gore in it, that this series can be for you. And that is all you need to say. I'm already on board. I know that this series has a huge array of trigger warnings. I was questioning if it was a YA series when I first heard about it. It's definitely not. It's definitely very adult, has some very dark themes in it. So I would highly recommend to check the trigger warning list before you read it. But I'm really excited for this series. I might get the rest of the trilogy so I can just marathon them whenever I read them. But I heard this will destroy you in a good way, so I'm excited for it. So then after Christmas, I kind of went to the bookstore and bought myself a few books for a little Christmas gifts. But the first one was one that I've been waiting for all year, ever since it came out, and I just never bought it, and I finally just treated myself and got it, and that's Violet Bent Backwards Over the Grass by Lana Del Rey. It's her poetry book, and I was so excited for it. I got it and I really loved it. I've never really read poetry before, so I'm definitely not a good gauge on how good it is, and I'm also very biased because anything Lana Del Rey puts out I will adore. But I really love this book. The poetry in it is really nice. Just following her through the process of it, I know that she poured her whole heart and soul into it, and a lot of the poetry has like little words written in the margins, which I just really enjoy. I haven't read the whole thing yet. I'm kind of trying to savor it, but I thoroughly enjoy it. It's definitely worth it, and the cover is so pretty. Speaking of pretty covers, I am not ashamed to say I bought this book 90% because of the cover, but the plot line sounds good, but this cover is maybe the most beautiful cover that I've ever seen ever. And it is To Sleep in a Sea of Stars by Christopher Paolini. It's so pretty. It's iridescent. The spine is also iridescent. It is definitely the prettiest book I've ever seen. I can't stop staring at it. Every time I go in a bookstore or Target, I would just sit there in the aisle being like, I want this. So I finally treated myself to it. The premise does sound really interesting. I'll just read a little excerpt from the inside cover because I think that sums it up really well. That during a routine survey mission on an uncolonized planet, Kira finds an alien relic. At first she's delighted, but elation turns to terror when the ancient dust around her begins to move. While Kira faces her own horrors, Earth and its colonies stand upon the brink of annihilation. Now, Kira might be humanity's greatest and final hope. So it's sci-fi. It's kind of about the scientists making first contact, and it sounds really good. It's also a really big book, which I don't know what it is about large books. It just looks so good, and I just always want to buy them and read them. It's just looks like it's going to be a good time when it's huge. Another book that I bought myself, I have been wanting to read for the entire last year. It looks so good. It's My Sister the Serial Killer by Oyinkan Braithwaite. I really hope that I said that correctly. But this sounds so good. It's about a doctor, I believe she's a doctor, and her sister is a serial killer, and every guy she dates, she kills. And she kind of just helps her sister clean up the mess and hide the body. And so the main character meets another doctor that she's really a big fan of, and she really kind of likes him. And then he asks, hey, can you introduce me to her sister? She looks really cute. And then it's like a conflict of she doesn't want her sister to kill this guy because she really likes him. It's supposed to be really good. It seems really good. I think I'm going to save this for my birthday week read just because I feel like I should read something extra special for my birthday, and this would definitely fit the bill. The last little book that I bought that I've been wanting for a while is The Death of Mrs. Westaway by Ruth Ware. Noelle recommended this. She said it was really good, and I chose Noelle with my life. So a book recommendation, no problem. It's about a woman who's going through it. I believe her mother just died and she doesn't have any remaining family. And she gets a letter in the mail that says, we're so sorry to inform you that your grandmother has passed. Please come to this mansion to accept the inheritance. And she's like, this is not my grandma. All my family is dead. But she says, okay, and arrives at this really creepy mansion, meets these characters, and things just get really weird and twisted. I think it's kind of like a snowy, spooky vibe maybe, so I kind of want to read this in the winter, but it sounds really good. Okay, so next is my January Book of the Month box that I got. I again got 3 books because I have no self-control when it comes to a deal. The book of the month that I picked was The Four Winds by Kristen Hanna. I had seen this on like a Goodreads list on upcoming new releases, and I immediately thought, ooh, I really want this. It's a historical fiction about a mother of a family that lives during the Great Depression and the Dust Bowl era and decides to move to California from Texas. And people I know say that her historical fictions are really, really good. So I have all of a sudden become like obsessed with this author without ever reading anything that she's written, but I suddenly want to read all of her books, so I got this one. It's kind of a thick guy, and it sounds really good, really promising. Very aesthetically pleasing cover. Then the next book that I got is a book that I needed to get for a book club that I joined, and I'm so happy because it is really good so far. I'm already a decent amount of the way in, but it's Transcendent Kingdom by Ya Giazzi. And it is so pretty, just very simple and the iridescent. It's such a pretty cover. The more that I read this book, the more I just want to look at the cover, enjoy it. And then I got this book, not because I wanted to read it right now, but I wanted to read it in the summer, and it sold out. And then I was really upset because I was like, well, in all honesty, if this isn't on Book of the Month and I can't get it for $10, I'm not ever going to read it. And then it got in stock again, so I was like, well, I have to get it. And it's the Star-Crossed Sisters of Tuscany. This just seems like a really lighthearted, fun summer read. It's about a family that lives in Italy, and there's a curse on their family that the second sister will never find love. And so it follows a girl who's the second sister, her cousin who's also the second sister, and her aunt who is also like the second sister, and all of their journey to kind of maybe break this curse and try and find love in their life. It sounds really cute. It's got really good ratings, so I am excited to just read this sometime in the summer. And my last group of books, I went to a used bookstore with my friends, and I had to buy some books because there were some really, really good deals. And I got some new and some used from there, but I got some really good deals. So the first one that I got was a book that I wanted to get from Book of the Month anyway, and it's The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna. People have said this book is so good. I've heard that it's kind of slow, so I'm prepared for that. But yeah, I got it for $11, which it's a hardcover, but I was planning on ordering this next month from Book of the Month, but I got it for $11 anyways, which frees up my next slot for another book that I want. It's just a continuous, which books am I going to get, because there's so many that I want, and it's so cheap. Can you tell I'm obsessed with Book of the Month? The next book that I got is also a Book of the Month book. I got it for $6, which is such a steal. It's really short, but it sounds so good. It's called Chemistry by Wei Wang. It is about a graduate student who is very frustrated by her failed research, and she's also struggling with her relationship moving forward with a man who's very successful in his research, and everything is coming to him very easily and perfectly, and she feels like she needs to find her success first before she can commit to serious next steps in their life together. And it sounds really intriguing. And then I got another Book of the Month. This was $7, and it's so big. It's The Heart's Invisible Furies by John Boyne. This has got really, really good ratings on Book of the Month. It won Book of the Year one year, and it's supposed to be really, really good. It's a historical fiction that kind of like follows the life of a man who lives in post-war Ireland through, I think, the 40s to kind of like present day. And it's supposed to be really good, really heartbreaking. It is huge. It's really big. Then I got 2 new books from the store. This one I'm really excited about. It just got new covers, and I've never heard of it before. It's really an old series, but the new covers, and people started talking about it again, and I saw it, and I just couldn't resist. And it's Graceling. The cover is so pretty. I cannot stop looking at it, but yeah, I really wanted to read it. The series seemed really intriguing. I kind of like that the series is like kind of standalone in themselves, but each book is a new story in the same universe. I think is really intriguing to me, but this sounds really good, and the cover is so pretty, so I'm really happy I got this. And then the final book of the book haul, I saw it in the back and asked the cashier if they had any more in the back so I could grab this, because I've been staring at this book for the longest time, hearing people talk about it for so long, and I finally gotten it for myself. And it is Crescent City by, no, it's not Crescent City, it's House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. It's supposed to be really, really good. It's the first in a new series. It is a big boy, so I'm really excited. I got a lot of really thick books here, and I got a lot of books here, period. So if something happens and there's an apocalypse and I have to stay in my apartment for the next 4 months, I'm gonna be good. But I'm super, super excited to read this. People said it's very, very good. And that is the end of my book haul. I have a lot of books to be reading, and I'm very, very excited for all of them. Let me know if you have read any of these, if you have any really strong feelings about any of these. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. And thanks for watching.